All right, thanks, Claire, for the great talk. Let's see, any questions? How about the one in the back, Dave?
Hi, thank you. That was a great talk. It was really cool. I had no idea about this. It was cool to see that you'll be able to take, I think, Rubin data from the science platform and put it in Zooniverse in a project. Will you, I don't know much about the Rubin science platform. Will you also be able to, let's say I want to combine Rubin data with Galax or Rubin with Roman. Will that be possible through this tool you've built?
Yeah, so basically, if you can do it on the Rubin Science platform, you can use our tool. And I think uploading data, just depending on volumes, is something that can be done. And definitely, we're trying to support having that kind of flexibility. So yes.
Yes, I could combine Galaxy and Rubin.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's go third row.
Have you been able to work with libraries at all? Because you mentioned.
Sorry, who's talking?
Me.
Okay.
Hi.
There we go.
Sorry. You mentioned educators and also students, but have you been able to reach out to any libraries? Because I know they have done a lot of educational work for stuff like this.
Yes. So we have I think I didn't mention it, but talking to libraries, planetariums, those kind of groups as well. It's definitely as well another community we're reaching out to.
Here.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing all this. So I had a more general question. In citizen science and in particularly the efforts with Rubin, is there any way to incentivize the contribution of citizens? So for example, when we write papers, we have our name on the papers as authors or co-authors, but when citizens are contributing to a project, then there are likely many of them who are contributing at once.
Sorry,
I'm curious, have you
slightly missed that? You're asking if there's a way to incentivize citizens to participate?
incentivize or in some sense award the citizens who have already participated by flashing their name somewhere or giving them some token of appreciation or something like that, either incentivizing them before the project or after the project.
Yeah, so the kind of psychology, I think, is a very interesting thing of how to encourage people to participate. And we're creating a guide for running projects, which includes a lot of things like that. But there's also some of the research that I mentioned showing that interacting with scientists and interacting with the science process is a huge incentive inherently. And so I think, and also making sure that their contributions are meaningful. So again, this is where kind of making sure we coordinate projects so we don't have two projects that are effectively looking at the same data to really make that kind of feel that your contributions are being put to good use and your time is being valued. I think it kind of plays into that. Hopefully I answered your question.
Okay, let's go over here.
So great stuff. And one sentence in your talk, and you actually just touched on it just now, really caught my attention, which is this idea of respecting all of these folks' contributions. And if you take a very high level view, they're a resource, right? And as a community, we have all sorts of strategies well developed over many decades for allocating precious resources in a competitive fashion. So let's imagine 10, 15 years from now, you know, everybody really has bought into the idea of how significant a contribution to the scientific endeavor all of these folks are, and everybody wants in to use that resource to do some research. How do we manage what you just said, which is, you know, not having 10 different groups all competing on the same science topic, which is what's going to happen otherwise outside of the context of citizen science, to, as you say, respect the contribution these folks are making? What's the vision right now for what that looks like? Yeah, so that is a very multifaceted project, and I think there's no one-liner answer I can give you there. But I think inherently in having our Rubin Citizen Science team, exactly respecting the contributions from the public is inherent to that, and that's kind of part of one of the things our team is doing. Kind of one way of framing this is the fact that this is
an EPO-led effort, as in this is something we want to give to the community and make meaningful to them as a kind of central priority for what we're doing, and not essentially treat volunteers as a tool and a resource and make sure it's that mutually beneficial. So having those spaces where, being able to facilitate bringing it to the classroom so it's a useful resource for teachers is, I think, a way of giving back. And then we're also trying to really navigate the tricky question of not letting there be kind of duplicating projects. So one of the things we're trying to do is really make sure that people are aware of what projects are happening and making sure that we support and encourage collaboration on those projects. We're also working to figure out how to take classified data that has been already classified and make that accessible like any other data product, so that if somebody classifies if there's a lot of classifications done on some sources, that can be used by more than one project appropriately, of course. Yeah, so hopefully that kind of touches on a few things we've got in mind, but it's a tricky question, and it's something we're working on navigating, but it's a priority for sure.
Okay, I have kind of a general question also. So I guess I was just wondering, what exactly is it about citizen scientists as opposed to like researchers who are able to like identify these interesting things like the green peas? And also kind of a follow-up, like how do you encourage or emphasize that particular thing, like with Rubin? Is it like synergies with machine learning, like you mentioned, or is it making things as easily accessible? I'm just curious for your thoughts on that.
Sorry, can you repeat the first part?
Yeah, like what is it about citizen science in particular that they're able to, I guess, discover these like things that are missed by researchers, like the green peas?
Yeah.
And then how do we encourage that particular thing moving forward, like with Rubin?
So I think part of that is just the time, the crowdsourcing element of the fact, you have more eyes on data, you're more likely to see more things. And so I think that's kind of one aspect on where you can find some of these unusual aspects. But also I think hopefully, in some of those examples you see that, it takes kind of one kind of dedicated or interested person can really open the doors to something that, wasn't seen or expected before. And I think, the ways that you can combine with machine learning, there are ways of, which I think is might be on Haley's poster, of, showing like objects. So you can encourage a citizen who identifies one source to look at similar objects, and you can kind of create classes and groups. So I think it's that just having eyes and making those connections and exploring the data more deeply. So hopefully that, hopefully that.
Cool, thanks. All right, any more questions for Claire? All right, if not, let's thank her again.